Hey everyone, and welcome back to another tutoring video. Today we're going to talk about how to convert decimals to fractions. So a decimal is basically just a number that is less than 1, and it is represented by these numbers behind the decimal place. So let's say you want to write the decimal 0.7 as a fraction. The first step is to notice that the decimal is in the 10th section, okay? So just like I had written up here, you basically just want to pay attention to which decimal place the numbers are in. So the first number, you're just going to have to remember this, is the 10th place, the next number is the 100th, the third number is the 1000th, and etc. So as you can see, the decimal 0.1 can be written as a fraction, as 1 over 10. And 0.01, since it's in the hundredths place, can be written as 1 over 100, and then so on and so forth. So basically, the more zeros in front of the first actual number in the decimal, that means the number is going to be smaller. So what I mean by that is that 0.1 is bigger than 0.01, for example. So let's say you have a number that isn't 1 and you want to write it as a fraction. So you're going to write 0.7 as 7 over 10. Since 0.7, the number is in the 10th place. But what if you have more than one number? What if you have like 0.72, or in this case 0.24? Basically, when you're writing a decimal as a fraction, you're just going to want to pay attention to the furthest place it goes back. So in this case, we have a number in the 10th place. So this is the 10th. And this is a 100th. So 0.24 can be written as 24 over 100. Or if you simplify this, we can divide both these numbers by 2 to give us 12 over 50. And then we can divide them by 2 again to give us 6 over 25. So basically, we want to make sure that we give our final answer in the simplest form of the fraction. So what I mean by that is, you notice how we originally got 0.24. We actually want to write this as 24 over 100, and then since we can divide both of these numbers by 2, we want to just keep doing that. Keep dividing the numbers by 2 until we get the simplest form of the fraction. So in this case, we're going to do the same exact thing that we just did. We're going to write 0.25 as 25 over 100. And then we're going to try and simplify this fraction. But notice how we can't divide 25 by 2 and still have a whole number, because if we divide 25 by 2, we're going to get a decimal. And when we're dealing with fractions, we can't have a decimal number in the numerator or the denominator. That just wouldn't make sense. So what we want to do is we want to find the highest common denominator between 25 and 100 in order to simplify the fraction. Essentially, the highest common denominator between 25 and 100 is actually 25. So we're going to go ahead and divide both numbers by 25 to get our fully simplified fraction. So if we divide 25 by 25, we get 1. And then if we do 100 divided by 25, we get 4. So that's how we write 0.25 as a fraction. It's actually just 1 over 4. So what if we wanted to convert 0.48 to a fraction? We're going to start off, since our furthest decimal place back is in the 100ths column, we're going to write 0.48 as 48 over 100. And what I'm going to do is, instead of finding the highest common denominator of 48 and 100, I'm just going to keep dividing the numbers by 2 until I can't anymore. So we're going to do 48 divided by 2, we get 24, and then 100 divided by 2 is 50. And then I'm going to divide it by 2 again, so 24 divided by 2 is 12, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. Notice how now we can't divide 25 by 2 without getting a decimal, because 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So this is actually the final answer, and that is the fully simplified fraction of 0.48. Moving on to the next example, this one's a little bit harder because the decimal places go further back. So now we need to figure out what is our furthest back decimal place. We have a number in the tenths column. We have a number in the 100ths column. We have a number in the thousandths column. And we also have a number in the 10,000ths column. So basically, we're just going to write out this number, 173, over 10,000, since our furthest number back is in the 10,000ths column. So 173 divided by 10,000 is our final fraction. Since the highest common denominator between these two numbers is just 1, so this is the fully simplified form of our fraction. What about the decimal 0.056 as a fraction? We want to figure out what the furthest number back is in the decimal place. So we have a number in the tenths column, we have a number in the hundredths column, and we have a number in the thousandths column. So we're going to write out this number over 1,000. So 56 over 1,000. And notice how both of these numbers can be divided by 2 without giving us a decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to simplify the fraction. So 56 divided by 2 is going to give us 28, and 1,000 divided by 2 is going to give us 500. But let's keep going so we can simplify this further. 28 divided by 2 is going to give us 14, and 500 divided by 2 is going to give us 250. Now let's keep going, and we get 7 divided by 250 divided by 2, which is 125. And this is our final answer. So 0.056 written as a fraction in its simplest form is equal to 7 over 125. In this final example, we're going to convert 0.4728 into a fraction. So all we have to do is figure out what the furthest number back is in the decimal place. So we have tenths, we have hundredths, we have thousandths, and we have 10,000ths. So we're just going to write this number over 10,000. So we get 0, so we get 4728 divided by 10,000. And now we just have to divide 4728 and 1,000 by 2 to simplify the fraction. So 4728 divided by 2 is 2364, and 10,000 divided by 2 is 5,000. So then 2,364 divided by 2 is 1,182. 5,000 divided by 2 is 2,500. Then if we divide these numbers by 2 again, we get 591 divided by 1,250. And this is our final answer. So all in all, it's really important to just figure out what your furthest number back is in your decimal, and then write that decimal number over that number that you figured out before. And then all you have to do is simplify the fraction by dividing it by 2. Divide both numbers by 2 until you can't anymore. And it's really important to make sure that you always write your fraction in the simplest form. If, for example, in this question you wrote down 2,364 over 5,000 as your final fraction, you'd probably get it wrong. You'd only get the full marks if you fully simplify the fraction. Now, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or anything, just leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back to you. Now, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.